You found the perfect home, you got your offer accepted, but then you blew it. Let's talk about how buyers sabotage their own deals on accident and how to keep your dream home from ghosting you. Today we're here with Jennifer Sells, the sales team at EXP Realty. Thanks for being here, Jen.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be back. These are always super fun. And, I just love doing these with you. So, hey, I want to know, how does a buyer, I mean, it's never happened to me. Just kidding. Let's talk about how a buyer blows the deal.
I think the first way that they blow the deal is by hiring someone who's inexperienced or just not good. That's like the number one way to kill your deal.
And on that subject, and I'm not going to pick on agents too much today because I'm pretty good at it. I want to say when you hire somebody that is emotionally involved, because let's get real, a real estate transaction is a real estate transaction. It is a transaction. It is not a place for emotion. And we, especially, I don't want to say especially with women agents, but a lot of times because we're nurturers, we care so much, we just get so emotionally invested with our buyers and our sellers, especially when we're newer in the industry, that those agents can literally ruin the transaction, right? Because they overcall, they over advise, you're not an inspector, you're an agent. Right? You're not an appraiser, you're an agent. You're not a lender, you're an agent, right? So let's not overstep our boundaries and ruin the deal for our buyers, right?
I know. I had a listing one time and this was back in the COVID era of many multiple offers. Like you have to have a spreadsheet to look at all your offers.
Oh, those were fun.
Yeah, those were fun. But I had, when I let all of the agents know, the buyer's agents, I let them know that they did not win the deal, that we chose a different offer. And the only response to that is, okay, thank you. Or maybe like, can you let me know anything, any feedback so I can make my buyer's offer better, whatever. Fine. I can't remember what she had been doing. I think she was maybe like kind of bothering me a little bit, like just too much.
Oh, yeah.
And at some point I started to think, I don't even care how much her buyer's offer is. And this was actually this was for my own deal. So I was not, I was the seller.
I get it.
Okay. So at some point I thought, I don't care how much her offer is. I do not want to do this deal with her.
Right. Because it's going to take away from all your other clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she wrote me back and told me, that most of the time when a listing agent did not accept her offer, that the deal did not go through.
And I was like, talk about arrogance, right? I wonder if she's still in the business. I doubt it.
I don't know. But yeah, I think your buyer's agent is a big deal. They're working for you. Make sure you get a good one.
Right. I've been doing it for a really long time. It doesn't really matter, honestly, because a good agent's a good agent. Doesn't matter if they've been in the business for a year or 26. Doesn't matter. But, I don't need to talk to you about every little thing. Now, is there a time and a place to talk to you? Absolutely. You want to pick up the phone and say, hey, we just got done with the inspection. There's a few issues going on. I'm going to send it over to you in writing. Great. Okay. But everything that we negotiate with our buyers and sellers are done in paper in the state of Colorado, right? There is no side deals. And I don't want anything said, between myself and another agent on the opposing side that a buyer or a seller could then say down the road that I was making decisions for them. So I'd rather everything be in writing, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a side note to that, right? But I think when an agent is always wanting to call and talk, well, I went over there. I met the inspector. Oh, I met the we did this today, right? It's just like, I don't care what you did. Just send it to me in writing.
Objection.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Those are the agents that can really ruin a deal for you. And then not understanding what they're doing and what they're not doing,
Mm-hmm. And it kind of harkens back to another episode we did where we talked about, we were judging other realtors, and one of the things that we said was if they're not, managing their clients well, it really can hurt the deal, because the clients don't know what to expect. So
I don't like to use the word manage. I like to use educate, right? So not that manage is bad, but I like to say educate. So, if we have an appraisal coming up or an inspection coming up, I just say, okay, when was the last time you cleaned your furnace? When was the last time you did this? How old's your roof? Like, let's get all the documentation up ahead. These are the things that the buyer could ask for. Let's try to knock all this out ahead of time. And, we can talk about doing a pre-inspection or not pre-inspection, blah, blah, blah. But just educating them on what could and could not come down the road. And it makes the transaction so much smoother.
yeah,
Right?
I do a lot of that education, and whether you call it managing clients or setting expectations or education, we're all talking about the same thing.
Exactly.
And so one of the things that I talk with buyers about in our first meeting is not only an overview of the process and what to expect, but also what their job is in the process. Like, we're going to talk about, here's what my job is, and here's what I'm expecting from you. Here's what you need to be aware of that's your job as part of this process. And that includes what not to do.
Yeah.
Because just tick off a couple of things that buyers should not be doing while they're under contract.
Oh, this one's fun. They know they're going to need a washer and dryer. So they go down to Lowe's, and 2 days before, because they want to have it delivered the day of closing, they go ahead and they open a credit card and they buy that washer and dryer.
Because it was 0% interest.
Yeah. And then because that's not going to affect me. And then, or they go to Living Spaces and they buy the whole thing to be delivered on closing. The underwriter is going to pull your credit again, like the day of closing or the day before. And if you've done that, you're done. You're done.
Don't lose your job. Don't change your job. Don't do anything smart with your money. Because this is so funny. The way that mortgage lending and credit scoring work is such a game with all these pieces. And it is very easy to fall into a trap of doing something that you think is smart with your money, that you think is going to be great. Like a perfect example of this is, most people have some credit cards, some credit card debt. So in my mind, it makes sense that if I happen to get a chunk of money and I pay down my credit cards, I'm going to pay them down to zero. Now I don't owe anything. So that should free up my debt to income ratio. That should boost my credit score.
Yeah, but that's not the case.
It's not how it
And
works.
your lender just had, all the lenders that are listening to us, right? They all just they died, right? Because it's happened to every single good lender that is watching this thing right now. You're changing everything, right? And it affects your loan. So don't do it.
Yeah,
Don't do it.
And I tell my buyers, I say, don't do anything with your money other than paying your regular bills that you pay. Don't do anything else with your money without just talking to your lender first. Just run it by them. That's all I'm asking you to do.
Ask them before you pay off the credit card. Ask them. If they say yes, then you're okay. If they say don't, because we need this amount of money in your account or whatever it is that I don't want to know as a real estate agent, you just do what your lender says, right? The other thing that kills me is when we go under contract and the lender puts out a request for documents to the buyer, and the buyer is like, okay, well, I'll be off work on Friday and I'll get that done on Friday. No. And I would use normal language and say something else, but no, you're going to do it now, tonight.
And again, back to setting expectations and educating in that meeting, in that first meeting with those people, with the buyers. One of the things that I tell them is, look, we're on your timetable from now until we go under contract. We're moving at your speed. Okay. Yeah. We're going to do showings when you want to do showings. It doesn't matter if you stretch it out over 6 months. I don't care. Although a pre-approval is only good for 6 months. But my point is, once you get under contract and
you're on the contract timetable.
And you need to respond to anything from me, the lender, title. You need to respond same day, next day. That's it. There's no we'll be waiting until Thursday because
Mm-mm.
that's when I'm free.
Mm-mm. Every time a buyer does that, it takes, half a year off my life. They just want me to die early.
Well, and back to the new, sorry, back to the new accounts. It's not just credit card accounts. I recently had some buyers who listened to Dad, and they opened up a new account. I think it was like a money market account at Capital One. And this, Dad thought this was a great idea because I think there were some gift funds coming from Dad. And so put it in this money market account that's brand new, and it's going to give you a little bit of interest until we're ready for closing. Okay, sure. But guess what? Now in the mortgage lending world, and in the banking world, both of those things, that account is not seasoned. It's not 2 months old. Capital One doesn't even have any branches in
That's
Colorado.
another 6 months of my life. Thank you. How old am I? 50?
Mhm.
I'm probably going to be dead next year.
Yeah, it was awful. It was awful for the buyer. Like the deal didn't not close because of it, but
it was a challenge.
it was so difficult for the buyer. It already, on top of your regular day job, being under contract is already a part-time job. Now you add something else with dealing with a big bank and a bunch of paperwork and trying to prove to the underwriters where what came from what account. It was a lot. It was a lot for that buyer to deal with, and I felt bad. And there was not, like, once it was done, it was done. We couldn't go backwards.
Nope, you can't. And then you have to unravel it. What else? Oh, switching lenders, right? So this actually happened to me. Bridget was the lender on it. I can remember very clearly. And I think the house was in Fort Collins, maybe. And the buyer had everything done with the lender. We even went through the appraisal. And 2 days before closing, I called Bridget and I was like, hey, are you going to go to the closing? Because back then we kind of did. And she was like, no, I'm not even doing that deal anymore. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he had switched to an online lender.
Oh, gross.
And I didn't even know who the person was. I just showed up to the closing table and we ended up closing, but it took an extra like we were there at 9 a.m. I don't think we closed it until like 4:59 or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a long day.
It was terrible. But and honestly, I don't know how I got it done because you have to take the appraisal and switch it from lender to lender, and then you have to do all these other things. And I still am blown away. 99.99999% of the time, don't do that.
I learned that lesson the hard way when I was newer, and I didn't realize the implications of it, right? I didn't realize the implication of switching lenders. In my mind, I was like, oh, well, my client wants a different lender, so sure, whatever, let's go with this. And that listing agent came unglued on me about it, which a little bit unprofessional, and that was the point when I implemented, I talked to my lender and I implemented this rule, like, and now I tell buyers this regularly. I say, you can shop lenders all you want, but you need to decide who you're going to use before we go under contract, because whoever's lender letter we put with the offer, that's the person we need to close with. Now, again, there's always exceptions. So there might be things that happen during the course of a deal that cause a buyer to look around for a different lender if their lender can't close the deal.
That's here or there.
Yeah.
But like if you start with one lender and that's what the lender letter is, and those what the terms are, and then you get to, loan objection, and the listing agent doesn't know that you switched lenders, I think you're going to have a pretty gray area there on getting your money back, especially if the listing agent is savvy, right? Because the listing agent's going to be like, well, this is not who you sent, and nobody told me that we were changing. So obviously you knew midway that you were having problems with the loan, so you tried to switch to another loan. No, we're keeping your earnest money, right? Like it's a risk.
Well, and while we're on the subject of lenders and ways that buyers can accidentally sabotage their deal, I would also throw in buyers who are getting pre-approved and trying to close a mortgage with one of the big banks. Because I don't know a single realtor that would look at an offer with a pre-approval letter from a big bank and recommend that to their seller. If you have options. I mean, in a buyer's market, you have to accept what you can get. But when we have options, that is not our preferred option.
I think that it's dangerous territory, right? For a bunch of different reasons. But yes, if it was 2020 again and I had 9 offers on the table, I'm going to say, this is a local lender that I've heard of and I know can get the deal done. This, and there's one in particular I'm thinking of that I won't say out loud, is a national thing based out of California that is never going to close on time. You know what I mean?
They're issuing bogus pre-approval letters.
Yeah.
They can't get the deal done. And when we're working with our local lenders, who we know are competent, we know, well, and I won't take a buyer shopping unless they've not only filled out the application, but uploaded all their docs and the lender has run it through the automated underwriting system. I'm not taking anybody shopping without having a very clear idea of their financial situation. We're not doing any of this. I told the lender what my income and debts are, and they pulled my credit, and we're good to go.
They softballed.
It's not good enough.
It's not because we're taking time away from our other clients too. But anyways,
well, and the big banks, I mean, I have done a total of 1 deal with a big bank, and it was just as bad of a nightmare as I had always heard it was. And at the time, I understood why we were using that lender because he was getting a phenomenal rate with that lender. And so when that was the case, I said, okay, well, I support you. I understand why you want to use the big bank. Let's do it. But the fact was that a real estate deal is full of a lot of different moving parts and different professions and different people. And even the loan itself is full of moving parts and different departments and people. You know, you're processing, underwriting, the loan officer.
Yeah.
And at a big bank, those departments may be in different states around the US. They're working bankers' hours. They do not care if we close our loan. So I remember calling one day and we were getting close to closing, and I called and they told me that they were in a team development meeting for the next 3 days. They had no intention of getting back to me or doing any work on the loan for the next 3 days.
Yeah, I agree. There's just, if you can possibly use a local lender that we can put our hands on, not that we would, well, maybe. Anyways, I'm treacherous. Anyways, so no, try to use your local lender and one that your agent has worked with before, because the relationships in this business do get things done. Yeah, be careful that we're not like monopolizing the business and saying you have to use this lender, you whatever. But we know the lenders that are going to get the deal closed. Yeah.
Oh, here's another one. So another way that buyers can accidentally sabotage their deal. People who want to go shopping before they've done the work of getting pre-approved.
Oh, because they went and looked at that $500,000 house and it's so beautiful and that's what they want. And their approval comes back and they're approved to $400,000. Well, I got news for you, sister. A $400,000 house and a $500,000 house are completely different things.
It's true.
Completely.
Even price points that are only 20 or 30,000 apart. I say only, but it's a lot of money. All of it is a lot of money.
Right.
But even going from 600 to 580 or from 550 to 515, you feel the difference. You can feel the difference. And so I just generally don't even set up a search without having a pretty good idea, because I'll set up a search, but I'm definitely not doing showings.
Right.
At any, unless I know that they can get qualified for that price point, because it's just so disappointing to shop at 600 and then find out you actually need to be shopping at 570. It's so disappointing. It ruins the experience.
Right. Well, I currently have a thing going on where the buyers have gone to the builder or they've looked online at the builders and they think that the price is like $675, right? And really the price is like $850 to $875. Also, if you don't have me with you, I can't represent you at a builder. You know what I mean? So if you want to go to the builders, let me know. I will register you. I will meet you down there. And 9 times out of 10, I can negotiate a price off with the builder. I can negotiate the interest rates. I can negotiate washers and dryers and landscaping and appliance packages and upgrades. I can do a lot of that, right? And if you're going to a builder by yourself, the builder doesn't even have a state contract. There's no protection for you whatsoever. The builder is representing the builder. They don't care. They will keep your earnest money. And I know at least 5 people who have been to builders without agents who have lost on average $15,000 to $30,000 because they couldn't qualify. Even a real estate broker here in town, this happened to. They went under contract on a high-end builder here, right?
They probably didn't read the contract.
And then they put their house on the market to get it sold. And then they found out that they don't qualify and they don't have any ways out. They ended up homeless and they lost their $30,000. So anyways, take one of us with us that understands the builders and the builder contracts and what you can and cannot get. So that's another way a buyer.
Well, and I would add on to that too, because you're saying if my buyer wants to go to a new build, let me know, I'll go with you. And I would add on and say, because I will tell buyers this in my buyer meeting, if you want to stop by an open house or if you want to go into a new build and go check that out. And, maybe you're just driving around on the weekend and this is what you're doing for fun. I know, because I used to do that shit for fun.
Of course.
Yeah. That's fine. You can go do those things. But no, when you walk into the builder's office, they're going to have you, they want you to sign in. They want to get your contact info. And there should be somewhere on there where they ask you, do you have representation? So whether it's the open house or whether it's at a new build, when they ask you to sign in, go ahead and do it. Give them some limited information. And then you say, I have representation, and you put my name and my number down and you get that on there. Because if you walk in and you don't do that, and then you want to buy that house, there are some builders, this isn't all of them, but there are some builders who now will not let you have a buyer's agent to be your representative.
They will not.
If you did not notify them on your first visit.
Exactly. Happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Takes another 6 months off of my life. Anyways,
this is a whole new build conversation. I'm sure I have an episode about new builds. So if you want to hear me trash talk about new builds and builder contracts and losing your earnest money, check out that episode.
All right, my favorite, Dad.
Dad, who bought his house in 1984. And so obviously he knows everything about buying a house.
And yeah, today. And knows everything about construction. Everything. Even if he lives in Florida and they build homes differently in Florida than they do in Colorado, we don't have moss. We don't have, certain things that other places do. You can't go to Home Depot in Texas and buy windows and put them here, right? Because there's a different rating on windows here and there's a different construction style here. We're a high desert. We are not a moist environment. Dad kills a lot of deals. A lot.
I know. Dad's always, this particular dad that we're talking about is always an alarmist, and he's always like super negative,
Yeah.
And so our advice to you is to take advice from someone who knows what they're talking about, and they're in the business, they're in the industry. They know what's going on in the market. They can advise you as a professional. They can be on your side and advise you.
Okay, so I want you to think about it like this, okay? If I am going to show you a house or show a buyer a house, this may not happen with all real estate agents, but when you do it long enough, my thought when I'm walking through a house is, if I have to sell this house in 2 years, can I?
Oof, that's tough because people who bought 2 years ago are in a tough spot right now if they have to sell.
I know, but in general, like if we think that the market's going to stay somewhat normal, stable, when I'm walking through a house with a buyer, I always ask myself, if I had to sell this house in 2 years, could I? Right? Is there problems with the roof? Is there problems with structure? Is there problems with the location? Is there, a highway behind it? Is there, drug house next door? Is there a lot of traffic out front?
Or a weird layout.
A weird layout.
That's
Like,
another one.
is there something about this house that's going to make it difficult for me to sell? Because your agent is going to tell you that, this is always going to be a problem if you buy this house, right? So, take us with you. You know what I'm saying? Dads, back to dads. We love them. They're doing it because they love you and they want to protect you and that's their job, right? But if your agent is worth their salt, they want to protect you as well. That was my point.
That's our job. Yeah, it's our job to protect our clients. Another way that buyers can accidentally sabotage their deal, and again, if you're not getting good advice from your agent, something they might do is put off insurance shopping and getting insurance.
That's actually a big problem
It's a
right
huge
now.
problem.
Like it's the bane of my existence, almost, besides downspouts. Insurance right now, and this has happened in 4 deals in the last month, is the certification of the roof has to be provided to the insurance person now. Not just that it's done, not that it's going to be done after closing. We need a certification to even bind the policy, and the policy has to be bound at least a week before a closing disclosure goes out. So closing disclosures take 3 days once it's signed for you to be able to close. So if your insurance isn't bound 3 days before closing, you're not closing.
Well, and there's also a whole separate episode on insurance, to be honest, because insurance is a huge problem in our industry right now.
Oh,
But insurance is something that in years past, and as an inexperienced agent, I never would bring it up in the beginning. It was something that the lender would ask my buyers for. And at this point, it's really something that as soon as we go under contract, it's one of the things that I'm introducing and putting on my buyer's plate as a to-do is that, you need to ask your existing agent for a quote bundled with home and auto, and then talk to my go-to insurance broker and get some quotes from her. She'll help you make sure they're apples to apples.
And then get that quote to the lender.
And then you got to pull the trigger on it, because one of the other things about the insurance industry is that quote is just a quote. It is not final. That price is not final until they've been paid, until it's bound. Yeah.
Yep. So insurance, please get right on it. Do not delay. And don't think that you're going to get through inspection and then you're going to do it, right? It has to be done like right then. And then they're going to ask you questions like, what kind of roof is it? What kind of like this is a big one. If you have the electric panel, is it
the Pacific Standard or Standard?
There's a lot of insurance. A lot of insurance brokers won't even insure the house if you have that. If a roof is more than 15 years old, sometimes you cannot get, coverage on that. So
sometimes it's more than 10 years. Because my broker has been saying like they don't like it if the roof is over 10 years old. They don't want to insure it.
So get on it, because that's a deal breaker. And you'd like to know that before you even start with like inspections and appraisals and all that other stuff. We need to know what you have and we can bind it. And that's part of your payment anyways. Yeah.
I think we did it. I think we got a lot of really good tidbits out there. So we've been talking about ways that buyers accidentally sabotage their deal. So if you have a friend who's buying a house, definitely tag them on this one, because friends don't let friends tank their deals.
That's right.
Yeah. Thanks for being here, Jen.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
If you like this content and want to support the channel, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go.